Freakonomics.
My first guest says that elements of our society encourage cheating. He's Stephen Dubner, the co-author of the best-selling book, Freakonomics. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks. I wouldn't really say that it's the norm and that you get left behind, but yeah, people cheat.
Well, what is fascinating? I think everybody has their lines of what is cheating. Well, everybody can rationalize. We live in a world right now. Obviously, we saw the end-runs guys go away. Yeah. First, before we get into the book, because you have some fascinating examples of people cheat. A guy like Skilling, a guy like Lay, and any big-time white-collar criminal, do they say to themselves, you know, I'm a scumbag and I don't care, I'm smart enough to get away with it, or do they somehow rationalize it away?
You know, that's got to be a case-by-case answer. But what I will say is this, I think it's a mistake to think that a person or a group of people are either cheaters or not cheaters, or good or bad. People respond to incentives, positive and negative, okay? And so whenever you want to look at the way a particular person or group of people behaves, the first thing you need to do is step back and kind of tease out what the incentives are encouraging or discouraging them to do. In other words,
now you have an example in your book of the Chicago school teachers. Take me through that.
Yeah,
it was frankly frightening what happened with Chicago school teachers when their jobs were on the line based on the kids reading.
Right, so Chicago instituted high-stakes testing long before much of the rest of the country did. So all of a sudden, teachers in Chicago have a lot of incentive not to have their students fail.
Because what happens if they fail?
They may get reprimanded. They certainly don't get bonuses. They may get reprimanded. They may lose their job. Okay. In the old days, the students might fail. Teachers, whatever. Or social promotion, they'd pass the students along. But now, with something on the line for the teachers, they began to cheat. They began to take the test sheets after they collected them up from the kids, erase wrong answers, fill in right answers, turn them in.
And you found over a 7-year period, anywhere between 5 and 20% of the teachers.
Right, about 5% in a study that was conducted using just the data from just the test scores to try to find suspicious patterns.
Without even really knowing what was going on.
Right, without being in the room. If you're in the room, I'm sure you're going to catch more.
Another example of our cheating public, because I actually believe people are good, but I believe people can rationalize things.
Yeah.
Before 1987, people on their tax returns basically could list however many kids they had. 1987, all of a sudden we need the kids' social security numbers.
Right.
7 million kids
vanish
disappear. No
overnight.
deductions. 7 million kids.
Exactly. You know, the way this was discovered actually was one very clever researcher at the IRS, a fellow named John Szilagyi, who should be a hero. He produced $14 billion of previously untapped tax revenue from people who were cheating. 7 million children, as you mentioned, vanished overnight. The reason he figured it out was because they do these intense audits every few years, take a 20,000 returns and look at every single thing. And he found that a lot of the kids who were being claimed as dependents had funny names like Fido and Fluffy and Princess. He thought, maybe these aren't children after all, maybe these are pets. So nobody expected they'd get 7 million cheaters, but yeah, they did.